This is the Mesonet Weather Report. I'm Wes Lee. Rain chances for Oklahoma have been in the forecast now for several weeks, but where it has fallen has not been equally distributed. This 5-day rainfall map from midweek shows that all of the rains were south of I-44. Soil moisture in these areas is now very good, while in the northwest they are still critically low. Mesonet reports soil moisture levels in 3 primary methods. First is plant available water. This estimates the soil moisture in a slice of soil, such as this 16-inch map shown here. It is reported in inches and is very soil type dependent. To illustrate this, focus in on the amounts reported in Oklahoma County, where Spencer has 2.35 and OKC East has 2.58 inches. Now let's look at the percent plant available water, the second method we report. Here we see that Spencer is the wetter of the 2 sites at 98% due to differences in soil type. The third method, fractional water index, is simply how wet or dry the sensor is at a particular depth and is not dependent on soil type. This map is at 10 inches and shows green near 1s in the east and 0s in the panhandle. This illustrates areas where we need the rain the most. Now here's Gary with some yearly rainfall numbers.
Well, we have more progress on the U.S. Drought Monitor report for this week. Seems like that's becoming a weekly occurrence. Let's get right to the new map and see where we're at. Well, let's start off with the northwestern half of the state. Unfortunately, no improvements in that part of the state. We're really talking about roughly a line from the I-44 corridor to the northwest. But when we go to the southeast of that line, and it's a little bit skewed up into north central Oklahoma down into south central Oklahoma, we see that much of the southeastern 1/3 of the state up into the northeastern part of the state is now free of drought. The yellow is abnormally dry conditions. That also signals an area without drought. It's either generally an area going into drought or coming out of the drought, and in this case it's coming out of the drought. So we are continuing to make progress across the southeastern part of the state. Unfortunately, we just need more rainfall in the northwest to see similar improvements. Nothing shows the divide between the northwest and southeast more than the last 60-day rainfall map from the Oklahoma Mesonet. Here we go from less than a 1/4 inch up in the panhandle to more than 14 inches down across southeastern Oklahoma. And right there, right along the I-44 corridor, roughly, we see a fast transition from about 2 inches to more than 4 to 5 inches. So a 2 to 3 inch difference in that small strip of land. Unfortunately, this has continued over several months. So again, that's the difference between the southeast and northwestern parts of the state. When we look at the departure from normal rainfall map, again for the last 60 days, we see that divide once again. We go from deficits of about 1 inch to surpluses of about 1 inch, again across that southwest to northeast line across the state. So in those areas that have the big surplus over the last 60 days, that's where we're without drought. And the areas where we have deficits over the last 60 days, those areas still in drought, pretty obvious. Now let me talk to you a minute just about the long-term drought situation. So if we look back at the last 365 days, we see really over most of the state we have deficits of 5 to 10 inches, in some case more, some case less. Some cases were above normal, greatly above normal in the example of east central Oklahoma and far southeastern Oklahoma. But by and large, we do have those long-term deficits. So why are we without drought in some of those areas? Well, those short-term surpluses have overwhelmed the impacts of the long-term drought. But it does show you that if we go back into a loss of rainfall in the future, we would probably go back to those drought conditions in southeastern Oklahoma. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.